everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Astrology Now. And we mean now, don't we, Babula? We mean
now.
The next 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks of the lunar cycle.
Yep.
Yeah. And, I was just recently, the last couple of days, I was feeling like I had to be healthier. I was starting to feel the influence, of Virgo coming in. So I've been making veggie juice and fresh salads and vegetable salads, and I've just made some fresh fruit salad. It's like, my God, and I went, oh, that's right, it's Virgo.
Right.
Isn't that amazing how it just starts to influence you before it even hits?
Yeah, it is amazing. That's right.
Yeah.
And I was just saying, that as we're recording this, we were just chatting earlier, and literally minutes before we started chatting, the sun actually moved into Virgo. So, because we're a few days ahead of the actual new moon.
Yeah. So I was looking at the lunar cycle, and I was thinking, my goodness, we're in the shade of retrogrades, aren't we? So why don't you kick off and tell us? Because I suddenly thought, oh my God, no, not another cycle with all these retrogrades. It's like, what? But anyway,
yeah,
buckle up, folks, and give it to us. Sock it to us.
Sock it to us. Okay. So so on the retrograde story, before we come to the new moon, yes, Mars has now gone into Gemini, and normally he'd move through a sign. We might have spoken of this last time, we probably did. Normally he moves through a sign in about 6 weeks, fairly regular, steady pace, 6 weeks. He's going to be in Gemini for 7 months, and that's because in late October Mars will get to 25 degrees of Gemini, and then he says, oh, wait a minute, I've got to go back. It's like I'm talking like on Mars. So Mars then turns. It's as though it turns and goes back and says, we need to go back over the same territory and get back to here, because there's something more to be done here.
Yeah. Now, this retrograde lasting 7 months, how often does that?
Okay, so Mars will be in Gemini for 7 months, but he will actually be in retrograde motion for 10 weeks during that phase.
Oh, yeah.
Mars goes retrograde every 2 years.
Oh, rightio.
Right. So, you won't see a lot of birth charts with Mars retrograde. I forget the percentage. I think it's something like 7% of people will be born when Mars was retrograde.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, something like that. So it's something that, as an astrologer, I would take note of. If I saw that in someone's chart, that would really get my attention, because it's not whereas slower moving outer planets are retrograde about 5 months of the year. So many of us have that. But if a fast moving inner planet like Mercury, Venus, or Mars is retrograde, that gets my attention. It's significant, So Mars in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury, the mind, messages, communication, ideas, words, language,
Media,
all issues to do with that. And in the body, Gemini is the lungs and breath. It's because, we speak on breath, don't we?
Yes.
If we're not breathing, we can't talk. We're dead too. But we
well, actually, you could be choking, which has happened to me. I was going, can't breathe. Well, I was choking. Yeah.
That's right. And I remember when Christopher Reeve was, the actor who played Superman, had that horse accident and broke something in his spine. And so he was hooked up to a machine that breathed him. And we watched him speak. He could only speak on the, when the machine, on the exhale. He would have to pause for the inhale and breathe on the exhale as the machine was breathing his lungs. So Yeah, that was an amazing sort of demonstration of that. So breath is really important, in lungs, and when we have health issues associated with the lungs, which is a Gemini issue, even if it's a cold or cough or flu or emphysema, you know, or bronchitis or asthma, these are all Gemini issues.
Yeah.
And Mars medically can associate with inflammation and things that end in itis, you know, infections and inflammation and so on. So that's just, you know, lung health is going to become important while Mars is in Gemini, and all issues to do with communication. And it can get heated because Mars heats things up. It's a hot energy. It can be, you know, battles. I often think of Mars as, of course, the warrior energy. And in the different signs, you can think of what's his weapon. In Gemini, words are the weapons.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Wow. And it can sort of be very, it can overreact, can't it?
That's right.
You know, rather than listening.
Exactly.
And thinking, which Virgo likes to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That impulse to just cut in, you know, and someone's sentence. And
we all know who you are.
That's right.
We've met
but I must say, on a really positive note, Mars energizes signs, and it can also be really helpful this whole 7-month period now for anyone who has an urge to write or does write. They can be incredibly productive. Like, this will be amazing for authors and writers and you know, people who work with words, wordsmiths. Man, they're going to be really productive and be very, very energized and stimulated by this.
So do you think we're going to see a lot more in the media?
A lot. And it can get pretty feisty. And you see, Gemini is a sign of duality. There can be sudden flips, you know, that might hold a certain line or narrative for a while, and then it can just, all of a sudden, it can flip to the reverse. Can be very interesting.
Well, we're already seeing that with Brett Sutton, aren't we? With him being quoted and showing a little clip of him saying about things about booster shots, for example, and now he's saying the opposite.
The opposite.
Yep.
That's right. So Mars is now in Gemini. So Gemini is very much about messages. Message. So
I want to say, white man speak with forked tongue.
Exactly. Exactly. One thing 1 minute and the exact opposite the next. And it can, because it's quick, you know, Mars is fast and Gemini is very quick. You know, the mind, you know, the mind moves very, very quickly here. So yeah, our minds are going to be very stimulated, which can be great. Can also at times be just all a bit exhausting.
Yes, well, not at 3 a.m. in the morning, in which a lot of people are telling me that they're laying there and their mind is going round, you know.
Exactly. Monkey mind, they call it.
Yes.
That's right. So the monkey mind's going to be very busy. If we can harness that Mars energy and be productive with it, that can be really helpful, like use it well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's going to be arguments and, you know, discord in conversations, but it can also be exciting, dynamic conversations, you know, like really getting into stuff.
Yeah.
A bit of passion that can be great, actually. So yeah, Mars is going to go retrograde. I think it's on the 30th of October, right at the end of October, all through November into about mid-January. So Mars is in Gemini for 7 months, but there's going to be 10 weeks of that period at the end of the year, early into next year, where he'll be in retrograde motion. So there's going to be a lot of reviewing and reversals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking while you're talking, for people who might struggle with that energy, with Mars in Gemini, which I probably will, is you know, to do some things that temper that overactivity of the monkey mind. Like maybe now it might be a time to do a little bit of meditation or even walking meditation, just to temper that, you know, and walking meditation is really good. It's just basically going for a walk, but focusing on being in the present, isn't it? And just looking and observing the surroundings. It helps tame that monkey mind.
It really does. And I think, you know, walking is very much a Gemini thing, you know, walking and breathing and meditating on the breath and doing breathing exercises. I was recently looking into the work of, I had his name and it's gone, but they call him the Iceman. You know, they do plunges in ice water.
Will is his first name, and there's something Hoff.
Yes.
I can't think of his full name.
Wim Hof.
Wim Hof. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
But I was reading, like, a big part of his work isn't just the plunging into ice water or even, and I started finishing off my showers with cold water. I was inspired by what he was saying. See, you know, we can read something interesting, but with Mars in Gemini, yes, but what are you going to do about it? Mars always wants action, you know. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And it's reminding me to breathe. He has a very simple but very effective breath technique. So it's taking action, you know, positive action to improve things. So that's another way to use Mars in Gemini.
Yeah.
And going for a walking to me is very Gemini. I think that's a brilliant thing to do. And to be grounded, drink a lot of water, really antidotes as well.
So,
like, yeah, walkers and runners are often quite Geminian types. You know, they want to move their body and get their lungs moving and move the limbs.
yes, actually, that's true, because I have Moon in Gemini, and there are times where I just get up and go, I need to walk.
That's right.
Yeah, I need to get up and move and walk, you know.
That's right. Because as a mutable sign, it's a sign of movement. Has to be movement, you know, with that. Yeah, so this is a quite, you know, and we've just been through a very strong Mars period with it going through Taurus and really impacting that Uranus North Node conjunction in Taurus. So Mars has been quite powerful actually for the whole of the second half of this year. And, you know, it's a strong energy. Yeah. So what's interesting, of course, with Mars so impacting Gemini, ruled by Mercury, the sun has now gone into Virgo, which is also ruled by Mercury.
Yeah.
And coming up on the 10th of September, Mercury himself will go retrograde.
Yeah, wow. Interesting.
Yes. So that mercurial energy, you know, even when you say the word mercurial, it makes me think of Quicksilver, which is actually ruled by the planet Mercury.
Interesting. Yeah. Fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
All this sort of mercurial connection. So Mercury's relationship with Gemini and Virgo is strong, but they're slightly different. Gemini is very much on the mental plane and the mind, and words and ideas and exchange of ideas and people and connecting. Virgo, its relationship with Virgo is more to do with the body and educating ourselves and getting good information that will support us in our health. And also to develop skills, hone our skills, our practical skills, to educate ourselves, to improve our skills for our job, our work, our craft, whatever is our craft, you know, that idea of like, you know, one way of looking at astrology is to see it as a craft.
Yes.
And what many people do, you know, so, but it, you know, Mercury Hermes, the god, is always depicted holding a caduceus, which is a symbol for medicine. There's another connection to the relationship with Virgo. So health and information are going to be pretty key in this coming period.
Now, understanding Virgo a bit, because I was married to two, is that they can actually take that information and become obsessive about it and like go to extremes about it, and particularly with health, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, so Virgos, just keep a balanced view about the whole thing.
Yeah, it's wired up to seek perfection.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
that's what it's a very analytical sign. So it's an earth sign, but because it's ruled by Mercury, the mind wants to analyze information to put it to practical use.
Mm.
So it gets very, very analytical, and which can be a fantastic thing for doing really fine detail work, or developing skills. Doing like it would be a Virgo who would say, if you're going to do a job, do it properly, or why bother?
Yeah. But the other thing I've observed is that they can get so wound up about getting things right that they actually never start things.
Yes.
They can become a bit, which is opposite to Mars, which wants to go, 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 and be the pioneer. But Virgo can get so caught up in their thinking and analysis and preparation. It's also, like it's
Get
back.
on with it.
Yeah, they're way back there, and the opportunity's been missed.
Yeah, it's a sign that's prone to anxiety.
Mm.
Stress, anxiety, and worry, chewing over all the details that which can hinder the capacity to just take an action.
Yes. Mm.
So that's a real issue for Virgo. Like, all signs have their issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a real issue for Virgo, and tendencies towards workaholism
Mm-hmm.
and perfectionism, and just working, because there's an endless to-do list. And not only is there a big long to-do list, when you cross some off and you're always adding more things on the list, but everyone has to be done correctly.
Yes.
It can all get very, very stressful. And that proneness to anxiety is very real.
Yes. Yeah.
And anxiety about health. There is a thing called health anxiety,
Yeah.
where you do become obsessive about, and I will own up to some of that. I've got a Virgo South Node,
Okay.
and I've been into natural health since I was about 18.
Mm.
First started to sort of come across those ideas, and so I've been exploring all that like all my adult life. It's just a natural tendency and inclination. And I can also see how there's been times when I've been like got to get this perfect, and it's all got to be pure and clean, and I'm still like that. Sometimes I have taken it to certain extremes, but it has definitely improved my health, and my health is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
For someone of my latter old age, I'm
Well, wiser years is what I would say.
years exactly. I'm
Yeah.
well, and
Yeah.
so
Oh.
yeah, it's important during this period, and this happens when the sun goes into Virgo, or any of the planets. Venus is going to go into Virgo on September the 5th. Our attention does turn to health. Like you said, you suddenly want to eat fresh, clean food. That's right. And we want to clean out our cupboards and make our space feel, it's like, oh, that's better.
Yes.
Sort stuff out. It just feels better, as all good Virgos know. And some Virgos, cleaning is a way of de-stressing.
Well, I was just going to say, isn't I mean, we all have experienced how the energy in the home is different after it's been cleaned and it's sparkling and lovely.
It's amazing. It feels wonderful, and everything's back in its place.
Yes.
It's really fantastic. And I've always said, if you were running a business and needed to hire someone to manage your office, you'd be mad not to employ a Virgo. That's just what they do. They'd have it running shipshape and beautifully and efficient and organized very quickly.
Yeah.
So yes, the sun's now in Virgo. Our attention turns to health, to practical matters, to our craft, and also craft, like in terms of artistic expression. Sun goes into Virgo, meaning it's just left Leo, where the expression is bright and bold and colorful. In Virgo, this is the doing the needlepoint, you know, in the quilting and painting with a fine little brush and, you know, very detailed work. That's the sort of the different form of expression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're now in, yes. So we just have to watch our tendency to get anxious and to worry over every tiny little thing.
Yes. And watch that Mars energy as well.
Yes. So that's on the 23rd that the sun, so by the time people see this, the sun will have moved into Virgo. On the 24th, which will have happened again by the time people see this, our friend Uranus has been very, very, very busy the past 2 years doing his big squares to Saturn and the recent conjunction with Mars in the North, and the still conjunction with the North Node through to early next year. Mars turns retrograde. So yes, there's another retrograde action.
Yes, too many for my liking.
It's really funny, you know, every year there's often a period of some months where there's a whole bunch of planets all retrograde at the same time. And I remind myself that, and every year we get through it.
Yes, this too shall pass. This too shall pass.
Right. And, you know, and it's not all difficult. It's, but it is an important time of review. So Uranus stations or appears to stop at 18 degrees and 55 minutes of Taurus and will slowly start to turn back, and it only goes back a few degrees and will be retrograde for about 5 months. So it's a, you know, a period of review and reevaluation around all things Uranian, you know, the revolution, the rebellion, the themes around freedom and so on and so on. But it's around those few days of the week when a slower moving planet like this is stationary and changing direction that its presence is felt very strongly. You know, there can be earthquake energy. We've spoken of that before.
Yeah, there's a time of risks, isn't it? It's
Yes.
it's quite a yeah. That word just comes risky. Everything's sort of edgy, and because our nervous systems are overstimulated too, and we feel that. But the energy, the energy on the planet is very, you know, like it plugged it into a PowerPoint.
It's and it's unstable, and you know, like just this morning, you know, I found that, well, Mr. Fauci, who's been in that position for decades, apparently has just announced his retirement. So there can be sudden announcements like this. You go, oh, didn't see that coming.
And shut the door on your way out.
Shut the door on your way out. Indeed. So yeah, you know, sudden events that take us by surprise is very. And, you know, people can say, well, what does that mean? Well, I think it remains to be seen what that means and what that's about. So, yeah.
That's one of those things you can't predict because it's unpredictable.
That's right.
Yeah.
And who knows how long in his mind that's been in the planning stages, or whether even for him it was just a sudden decision. And who knows what were the circumstances around that decision? We don't know. We probably don't. Yeah. So then on the 26th, Mercury moved into Libra, came out of Virgo. So as we're talking, Mercury's still in Virgo and will leave and go into Libra, which is a sign that's to do with relationship and harmony and balance, and also all things to do with beauty and art, you know, that wanting to communicate in a way that's harmonious and helpful in relationships. So that's a helpful thing. For goodness sake, that's got to be helpful in this crazy world we live in.
Well, I'm just thinking it's a good time for mediating.
Exactly.
because Libra is very diplomatic. It likes to help, bring balance just to between people, and with the other aspect, it's about the words that are used to do that. So yeah, it could be a good time for mediation.
Exactly. Harmonizing, that's right, and negotiation, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's helpful, and Mercury will be in Libra through a large part of September, in about 3 and actually for a while, because he gets to nearly 9 degrees of Libra and then will turn retrograde on September the 10th. And so we'll retrograde back to the beginning of Libra and then go back a few degrees into Virgo again. So Mercury will go back into Virgo for a period during that retrograde phase and then come forward again. So yeah, it's a bit of an extended stay in both Virgo and Libra. So that finally brings us to the new moon. Taken a while to get there, but lots of other things to talk about.
Yes.
So the new moon on the 27th is, of course, in Virgo at 4 degrees. And the sun and the moon come together at 4 degrees. So that is really going to highlight and begin this next lunation, which will be imprinted with the energy of Virgo. So all things practical, grounded, skillful, analytical, health, herbs, clean diet, improvements in health, all issues to do with employment and work, and all the day-to-day stuff. If you think, I often think, God, why is there like 500 million things to do in a day? And it feels like that, just all the little things.
Yeah. I was thinking though, because the moon can be quite impulsive, actually is impulsive at times. And in Virgo, which is, the opposite, it sits back and analyzes and weighs things up, and patient and all that sort of stuff. So there's a little bit of, push-pull there.
Yes.
Could there be sorry? I was going to say, could there be, like, because the moon is moving fast and Virgo is not, could there be a bit of resistance to change or to...
it's interesting about Virgo, even though it's an earth sign, it is a mutable earth sign. So there is movement, not like Taurus, which is fixed earth.
Yes.
Taurus has tremendous resistance. Perhaps some Virgos who've also got strong Taurus energy.
Yeah, could be.
But Virgo in itself does like a certain amount of variety. So the day can be filled with a lot of details and specifics, but there can be lots of different things happening. But you're absolutely right about the analytical tendency, and perhaps which can make it perhaps not so easy to take out. I think it's the anxiety around taking an action and getting it wrong. What if I get it wrong? If I'm not really well prepared and don't have all my facts and information right and all my ducks in a row, my T's crossed and my I's dotted, I might make a mistake or get it wrong. I suspect that's more the underlying issue around I'm not going to start this because I don't have all the facts, or what if I make a mistake and I get it wrong? So that's a source of great anxiety in Virgo.
Yeah. So they're not likely to say, oh, I don't know, I'll just wing it.
No.
That's not their way. That's not their motto.
No. You see, the opposite sign is Pisces, and Pisces will go, oh, that's good enough, or yeah, whatever. Okay. But no, Virgo is like, no, because it wants to be, really well prepared, have all the equipment ready and cleaned and in good condition, whatever is the situation or the circumstance. Reminds me of that word that's come very to the fore in our reality in recent years, fact checking, have you checked all the facts? Have you checked, like going on a trip in the car, every detail of the car has to be checked, which is not a bad thing, to make sure everything is working properly. Yeah. So this lunar cycle starting on the 27th is an important one around honing our skills, taking care of health, taking care of details, the bookwork, just all the nuts and bolts and nitty-gritty details of life, which to certain other signs like Sagittarius is like, oh God, that's so boring and tedious.
And that's me.
I know.
Like, oh, come on, just get on with it.
I know. That's right, because you're in the big picture zone, right? Now, someone can be a Sag and also have a moon in Virgo. That stuff happens, So and neither one is right or wrong. They're just operating in a very, very, very different way. Yeah. So fire signs, do find, particularly Aries and Sag, do find that Virgo stuff quite frustrating. Yeah. Nitpicking is a word that, some might use for Virgo. But I have found that the essence of Virgo is actually very beautiful energy. It's very, very, very fine. It's because it's all about purity.
Yes.
It's Virgo, the word comes from the word virgin, which means pure.
Yeah.
So Virgo's anxiety about getting things right is coming from that underlying sense of wanting to bring purity to something, which is what we feel when we clean a room and have it sparkling, just even energetically it feels pure.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different ways of looking at it. This new moon will make an exact square to Mars in Gemini, 4 degrees of Gemini. So it's very mercurial. Yeah, very mercurial. I think it's going to keep us pretty busy and really keep us on our toes this cycle.
Yeah. Don't know if I like that. I mean, I feel like after the last few years that it's like people I'm talking to are like, let's just slow down, take a break, go sit out in the sun, breathe, like you say, breathe, enjoy the moment, smell the roses. I don't know if I can put up with that for 7 months, but Bill.
That's right. I know it's been pretty relentless.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, what's helpful if we can is to just take those 10 minutes of time or that hour, to do whatever we know to give ourselves a break, because we're not going to get big chunks of time. We have to, and I think this Virgo Gemini energy is fast moving and is about just 10 minutes here, half an hour there, an afternoon there, a day off here, it's like that. It's not easy, even if we were to go away on a 3-week holiday in the middle of all of what's happening, lots would still be happening. You just may not have your normal routines and work demands happening. But, someone that I follow online just took a week off, and by the end of the week said, well, what a silly idea that was, busier than ever. It's a bit like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then in September, coming into September, on the 5th, Venus will go into Virgo. I think we can look at that as Venus is always around the love principle, and I think one of the ways we can work with that is that question, what do I love? And in Virgo, what gives us pleasure? A well-organized office, it's practical, getting the veggie garden up and running. And I've been doing that in the last few days. I've been going, just not making, I was going to say not finding the time, but not making the time to do it. Along the weekend I did, and I just, you know, I loved it. It felt so good. I'm getting a new veggie bed up and running.
Lovely.
And getting it organized, and you know, that hands-on kind of stuff, and the herbs going.
Yeah.
And finding the pleasure in that.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's what I find with my veggie garden. It's the pleasure of it.
Exactly.
You know, because let's face it, all the water you spend on watering it, you don't save much money, but it's the pleasure of looking at it every day.
Exactly. And all the money you spend on, you know, getting soil in and buying the plants and the seeds. But I guess over time it would eventually pay for itself. But initially it doesn't. You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And
enjoyment.
And the same with you, you know, wanting to eat fresh food and make, you know, a lovely salad, like to actually make that a pleasurable experience. You know, plucking the salad leaves from your garden and putting a nice salad together and making a bit of a work of art, you know, making it beautiful, that kind of thing, rather than just rushing around and trying to get it all done in 10 minutes so you can get back to work. Yeah, it's just, yeah. So I often imagine with Venus, if this was an artist, you know, how would that creative expression to take beauty take place? It would be in the detail with Virgo, or it can also be in making practical things that are beautiful. Again, I follow an artist online who paints wonderfully, but she also she does craft as well. She's a full-time artist, which would be amazing. And because she's very good, she makes shamanic rattles, the most exquisite works of art, and they sell like hotcakes.
Oh, wow.
They're extraordinary. And she showed us, I'll send you the link if you like.
Yeah.
She showed us, she said she just cleaned up her studio. She must have Virgo in her, because she just cleaned it all up and she took us on a video tour. Oh my God, she's so organized, and she's got all the shelves and the spaces for all the different things to make these things, and all her paints. Very impressive. But that's the craft side of art. It's very Venus in Virgo. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what she's got, you know. Yeah.
What about, because Venus is, you know, it affects money, it rules money as well. How does that go in Virgo?
Very good time to get your finances in order. You know, we put it off and put it off. We just don't like doing the accounting bookwork side of things.
Yeah.
I think in terms of money, like really sit down and work it out.
Yes.
Get details. Like, it makes me smile when even the thought came into my mind. It made me smile because I'm just not a person who does budgets. I'm not wired up that way. But for some, like having a budget and getting all, you know, every piece of detail of what you spend and what you earn and where the money goes. It's a very sensible thing to do. I'm not that sensible. You know, that could be something that would work for some people. Like, get a bit analytical about it, or get some advice, and really look at the details and the specifics, and you know, analyze it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are looking at how they're spending money these days, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah, they're being quite careful, I think.
Yes. Yes, things are so uncertain.
Thinking it through.
Yeah.
Budgeting. Even I'm budgeting.
Sagittarius, I beg your pardon.
I know. What's that about?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It can also be spending money on your health.
Yes.
Or whatever is your craft, spending money on that, you know, or training. You know, Virgo to me has got a lot to do with training as well. Either being a trainer or getting trained in something.
Okay.
Right? learning new skills,
Mm.
whether it's to do with anything artistic or work, employment, health. Yeah,
Mm.
very Virgo. Virgo has a humility about it. Comes after Leo, let's face it. You wouldn't call Leo the most humble sign in the zodiac. It's not set up that way.
Mm.
Virgo goes to the master, the teacher, the person who is skilled and experienced and knowledgeable, and says, I need to learn this from you. And that takes a bit of humility.
Mm.
I don't know, and I want to know how to do this, and you're so good at this. Can you teach me, train me?
Right.
Like the apprentice, I think, is a very Virgo word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, in all the areas of interest that you have, you will have been through various apprenticeships.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you become someone who can share that knowledge with others.
Mm.
I've done some of your workshops. You're fantastic, and you have a lot of knowledge and skill in so many different areas.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
So it's a sign about being of service, isn't it?
Absolutely it is.
Mm.
So Virgo says, how can I help?
Mm.
Nurses, tradespeople, people with skills, practical. They want to help. They want to make a difference in a very real, practical way.
Yeah.
The
Even
Virgo tradie, his ute will be immaculate, and he'll clean up after he's, fixed the plumbing.
yes, yeah. But even like in the home, and if you're entertaining, I've noticed that Virgos will say, "Oh, you're right. Would you like a drink? Can I get you some more food? Can I do this?" Like being of service to the guests as a host. Yeah.
And attentive to the details.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So it's a sign that is often criticized and judged for being critical,
Mm.
and yeah, it's a lot of Virgo people feel a bit misunderstood. So, it took me over the years, I began to connect with the actual fine energy underneath the external behaviors,
Mm.
but like OCD
Yeah.
is an expression of Virgo's deep anxiety,
Mm.
manifesting as a kind of an actual mental health condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind gets hold of something and everything has to be just so, or they feel extremely anxious.
Yeah.
So anyone with Virgo will have certain tendencies in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But, if it then goes to an extreme because the anxiety is so strong, yeah.
Mm.
But these are all issues that can come up for people during this time,
Mm.
Yeah.
Anxious time in the retrograde shadow.
Yeah. And then on the 10th, with the Sun and Venus still in Virgo, Mercury will turn retrograde, gets to almost 9 degrees of Libra, and goes back as far as 24 of Virgo. So any of you with planets in those first degrees of Libra and the last degrees of Virgo will be receiving that Mercury retrograde quite strongly. We all know the recommendations for Mercury retrograde. My primary one is back everything up, back all your files up on your computer.
Mm.
Things can go a bit, awry.
Yeah. And signing documents too, isn't it?
Yeah, take a lot of care, especially in Libra. Actually, that's a great point. Consider the sign it's in. Things can go awry with legal issues.
Mm.
If you're having to sign a legal document for whatever reason, and there's no way to delay it until Mercury goes direct again, you have to be like, just get really good advice, get it double checked, get second opinions, take your time, just check everything carefully, because that can be an issue in Libra. It's a sign that rules the law. Yeah. There might be renegotiations going on, Mercury retrograde in Libra. Yeah. And look, just to comment on when it goes retrogrades back into Virgo, and it will get back to 24. I've noticed over the years it affects me this way because Mercury has a lot to do with health. It rules Virgo, and it's, you know, it's symbolized by the caduceus. Our health is often compromised when Mercury's in a retrograde phase. I've noticed that over the years. I take a bit of extra care of my health when Mercury's retrograde. I get a bit extra support from my favorite healers. I take a few extra supplements to try and get a bit more sleep, because I've noticed, and not everyone's necessarily going to be like this, but I know I am. And it's, I think when it retrogrades in Virgo, I think that's a really helpful thing.
Yeah, right.
Be aware of. Virgo, of course, is also digestion.
Yes, that's right.
And there's nothing like anxiety, stress, and worry to have an impact on our digestion, which has an impact on our whole health then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Things to think about.
Yes.
I'm going to check that Mercury retrograde because I've got to sign some legal documents soon.
Okay, yeah. So he goes into Libra on the 26th, which is the day before the new moon. And gets to almost 9 degrees of Libra on the 10th. So yeah, I think it's just to and sometimes what happens when Mercury's retrograde, and I've seen this before when people sign a contract for a house. Not always, but I've seen this happen with friends and so on. And Mercury's retrograde, there's often a delay or a holdup or an issue comes up.
Okay.
That doesn't resolve until Mercury goes direct again. Sometimes the contract might fall over. Then once Mercury goes direct and comes out of shadow and really moves on, a new contract is signed that just goes straight through.
Right.
That's the kind of thing that can happen.
Yeah.
It's often, you know, if you hold up some delays, that's kind of quite typical. What to do? But it's good because it, you know, it can mean that, you know, whatever happened is what needed to happen because something wasn't quite right. Yeah, something just wasn't quite right.
Right. So there we go.
And that then brings us to the new moon on the 10th, which is the same date that Mercury turns retrograde. Sorry, the full moon, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
The full moon in Pisces opposite the Virgo sun on the same day that Mercury turns retrograde. More about that next time.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it's all quite mercurial, this period, with all this Virgo, Gemini, Mercury retrograde energy going on. Yeah. So communications, words, lots of activity. And of course, for people who know their birth chart, consider what house do you have the sign of Virgo in? What house do you have the sign of Gemini in? They're the areas of life that all this activity will be going on. There'll be lots of messages coming in. There'll be a lot of exchange. There'll be lots of email, text, phone calls, lots going on, you know, information flying around all over social media. It's that kind of energy.
I'm just thinking while you were saying that before about Mercury in Virgo, Mercury retrograde. Yeah, sorry. You know, like a careful selection of words. Could that be, you know, like we might find ourselves thinking through things a little better and carefully selecting the right words that are appropriate to what you actually want to say?
Exactly. Being very specific and particular. Yeah, that's true.
Pay attention, people.
Yes, pay close attention.
Yep.
And I've discovered over the years too that some people I've known who are quite mercurial, if they are quite conscious people and maybe perhaps they work as therapists or healers, they're very tuned in to people's words. They're just naturally paying attention, and they'll perhaps in a session they'll say, let's go back to what you just said. That word, why that particular, what's that word for you? You know, that it's that kind of thing.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, you know, it's
Yeah.
the power of words, and my understanding is that in the shamanic tradition there's a thing around the power of the word. You know, words are powerful things, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it's affirmations, aren't they? You know, that you're
Yes.
careful with what you say.
Yes.
But you know, sometimes the Sagittarius just can't help themselves, and they do like a bit of banter, you know.
Yes. Just kind of blurt things out. And
Yes, and the whole thing. I'm not going to get it tattooed across here. Like, don't take anything I say seriously. I'm a Sagittarius.
don't take it personally.
Don't take it personal. It's just.
Oh,
Well, thank you for that. That's it's a lot to digest, and I could feel myself digesting the conversation because it's all very, that Virgo energy is in what you're saying and how
yes.
you're selecting the words and thinking it through. And I notice when we do these episodes, depending on what we're talking about, there's a different energy in our conversation.
There really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there really is. And digesting words and messages is a very good way to put it. You know, Virgo, digestion.
Yeah. So, well, everyone, if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like, and if you think other people might like it, please share it. And remember to subscribe, tap the bell so you get notifications of when we upload each episode. So until next time, watch your P's and Q's.
Yes.
Through.
And good health, everybody.
And good health. Yes, stay healthy and safe. So until next time, we'll see you then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.